Hey there, I'm Lainey Lipsky, parenting coach and master teacher. Parenting is hard. I totally get it, and I'm here to make it easier for you. Especially if you had a tough childhood or you've got a tough child now, I've got your back. So take a deep breath, relax, and check out this clip from my coaching group this week. And remember to hit like and subscribe if you like my vibe. Let's get started. And you said you remember clearly thinking before you had kids how much you didn't like the crazy violent video games and swore I would not be a part of that. Totally. Yet here we go. You get frustrated and you almost feel like a failure because I don't know how I got here. COVID played a big part, but I have to think we would have gotten here another way given all the peer pressure around them. I feel like it's hard to pull back now, but I like your rules that I laid down and you wrote them all down. Great. I hope that they help. I'm not saying that they are written in stone. I know that when I talking about going back to this idea of is the mom or is the parent the one who's making the compromises most of the time, compared to the kids. I know that when I get some pushback from my kids and I feel really resolute in what I've done, I don't feel any pressure to make a compromise. But when I get a lot of pushback from my kids and I'm not feeling entirely resolute about what I've done, then I'm like, I think this is a place where I need to compromise and I need to find out something because this isn't feeling good. Like every week, it's a real fight. And it's the same fight to get the phone away from my one kid in particular who's like, you're getting in the way of me having friends. And I'm like, I don't want to do that. And I don't believe that that's true. But when we had a calmer conversation about it, and I was able to really understand that there are plans being made on our detox days. And if my kid is being left out of that planning cycle, um, then there really, it does put a, a wedge in their social life. And the point is, I'm not looking to impact their social life. I'm actually looking to improve their social life, right? I'm like, go ahead and make plans ahead of time so that on Saturday you can get together and go and do whatever you're going to do, right? Like make plans and be proactive about it. And it's just, it takes some time to get there. The big thing that I want my kids to get is that I don't want them to think that hanging out with friends means hanging out on a screen together. Like I want them to enjoy playing whatever it is they're playing basketball or being active or doing something that brings them together. And sometimes that could be watching movies or playing a game together, but I just don't want that to be the only thing. That's what breaks my heart. Um, the violent video games, ugh, if that's what all their friends are playing and they're being left out of it, that's a tough one. That's not something that I had to deal with. I had to deal with my son's friends in particular having toy guns, and that was something that we were just a hard no about in our house. It was like no guns in the house, no. And then it's like, well, does a Nerf gun count? Does a lightsaber count? Does a fake stormtrooper gun count? It's not shooting anything, right? It's shooting like rays of light, and it just gets so complicated. So I don't have like hard and fast rules around this, but I do know that these are important things for you to check in with yourself about and what your values are. And, you know, if you have friendships with the other parents, maybe that's a conversation to have to say, listen, I'm really uncomfortable with these games. And is there a game that we can all find that feels good for our kids? As your kids get older, you don't get to have those conversations with the other parents. Um, but when they're younger, you can and say, we're a really like no gun family, or we're a no violence family, or these things just make me uncomfortable. Could we find another game for the kids to find online? Like, could we all put our heads together and figure this out? You know? Um, and they are appealing. They're appealing for good reason. They're made to be super appealing and super um, addictive. So the one thing I caution you against doing is saying to your kid something like, I don't even understand why you like that game, or that game is horrible, or, da da da. If you want to tell them how you feel about it, you can say, listen, I am uncomfortable with this game because A, B, and C. I want you to know where I stand on this game. And that's why I'm not letting you play it, or that's why I'm opposed to it, but because your friends are doing it, I guess I'm going to let you do it occasionally. Like, I don't know what that message becomes because, like, you say that to your kid, and the message is, well, I'm uncomfortable with it, but because everybody else is doing it, I'm going to let you do it. Like, I don't know. I don't know how you make sense of that. That's a tough one. I'm not going to lie. But it's like, I mean, take anything, right? Like, my daughter is really into TikTok, and a lot of her friends, they're 13 and 14-year-old girls, and they're putting up TikTok videos of themselves, in bikinis. And um, that's not going to happen in our family. That's a hard no for me. And if that means that, like, that's the only way that they're interacting with each other or like sharing, I'm like, then I guess those friendships are over then. Like, I'm willing to call it that. Um, because it's so compromising of her integrity, and she's never done it, and I've never had to impose that. um but the important thing is for your kids know where you stand, and then the action you take around it, I think, has to be aligned with your values. And sometimes those are hard choices because I don't see another way. I feel really strongly about this, but I'm going to do this other thing that goes against how strongly I feel. Like, you want them to know that you were a woman of your word and a woman of value, of values, right? Who stood by what she believed in even when it was hard, right? I think this might be one of those moments. I'm not telling you what to do. I'm just saying you got to look at this as a big picture. Yeah. And then if it's like, well, turns out it's not that big a deal, then it's okay if you do it. Or it seems like you've already maybe tried it this way, and you're watching, you're like, okay, I'm going to be flexible here, I'm going to let my kids play this violent video game. But you're watching them play it, and it actually hurts your heart, and it's like, this isn't who I am, and this isn't who I want my kids to be. That is an internal sign for you to be like, nope, we're going to pull the plug on this. We tried it. I don't feel right about it. I'm the mom, and while everyone is living in this house, like, it's my house, we all live here, but like, you don't have to tolerate things that truly are against your values in your own home. They'll have plenty of opportunity to do that stuff when they're older, and they can make their own choices, and they'll still know where you stand on it. That might be the most truth I can give you, and the best that we can do with this. I think as our kids get older, the best we can hope for is that when they're away from us, it's not that they're doing what we would tell them to do necessarily, because that's too controlling and too attached, but attached in like the bad way. It's not that they would necessarily do what we would do, but it's that they would know what we would say if we were standing there. And that means that we are people of our word, and we are clear with them about what our values are. And we hope that they take on our values, of course, because we've lived a life and we've come to these values. They work for us, they feel good. This is like a life well lived, hopefully, that we're modeling, right? And at least they're going to hold that as like, well, my mom used to always do this, or my mom used to say that. And that's going to be a voice in their head. I really think that's the aim here, for being as clear as we can with ourselves and with our kids. And then I guess when you get to the territory of like, well, I don't know that this value has really served me. Like, I don't know that holding on to this value has made me a happier person as an adult. Then maybe that's not a value that you need to be so attached to hand down to your kids, because maybe it didn't work out for you, even though you thought it was going to, right? Like my whole thing about perfectionism and discipline, like being self-disciplined, I mean, and being really rigid, like that was a value I held very dear for a long, long time. But as an adult, it made me very successful as a young person, but it didn't make me happy as an adult. And I had to really question those things when I had kids. Like, if this is the outcome for me as an adult, and these things don't make me happy, why would I plant these seeds in my kids in the same way, just so they would go through the same thing that I did? Like, I want to plant different seeds, or like chill it out a little bit, tone it down a little bit. Like, not everything is a competition, not everything is like goal oriented and success and achievement, and it's not all like that. And so the people I saw in my life who were happier were a little bit less, intense about that stuff as I got older. And that's really more where I've had to find my balance and plant different seeds with my kids about striving, not being a slacker, but not being, win at all costs. Everything's a competition, that kind of thing. Different messages like stay in your lane, do the best that you can, focus on what's important, that kind of stuff. I really hope this video was helpful to you. Feel free to share it and use the comments to ask a question or to request a topic for the future. We've got links below for free support with things like discipline, teaching your kids how to be more gritty, and how to be more patient with your kids, plus access to my free coaching group. So be sure to check those links out. And remember, we get one shot at parenthood. Our kids only get one shot at their childhood, so let's make it count. Click like and subscribe, and I'll see you soon.